All right. Welcome everyone to another Maine SBDC webinar. Today we are going over marketing tactics with $0 budgets. So if all you've got is time, we are going to give you some tips to try out today. Today we have the wonderful Nicole Ouellette from Breaking Even Communications to lead us through this discussion. My name is Kelsey, and I'm with the Maine State Office with the Maine Small Business Development Centers. And this week is Small Business Week. So if you have a chance to check out some of the SBA's programming that's available, I keep sharing videos on our Facebook and other platforms. So feel free to check those out. Maybe I'll include that information in my follow-up email. So keep an eye out. Probably tomorrow, you'll receive a follow-up email that will include a link to the recording, as well as the slides and any other resources we go over. Feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself or submit any questions you have along the way. Nicole's pretty great about stopping and answering questions as we go, but there's always time at the end for any of that. I do have just a little bit of construction going on outside my window, so I apologize for any odd noises that come through periodically. But otherwise, I'm going to mute myself and pass it over to Nicole.
All right. Thanks, Kelsey. And yeah, it's a pleasure to see everyone today. And before we start officially, I'm going to just get a couple of poll questions to understand who's in the room. And please, I know like learning stuff is great, but also meeting other people is great. So introduce your business in the chat, put a link to your website, a link to your social media, however you like to stay in touch. So I'm just trying to understand who's in the room here. So this first question that's going to be on your screen is like, what kind of business you run? So I'm trying to figure out like who sells online only, who sells online and has a physical location in addition to that, or maybe multiple physical locations, or like maybe you're a spa and haven't figured out a way to ship eyelash extensions yet. And you provide services at a physical location. Okay, so pretty even mix. That's helpful to know. Okay, great. I just stopped that poll. I just wanted to like get an idea of who was in the room. And the second thing, and this is actually the more important one, so I'm definitely going to leave it up longer. Oh my God, where is the other poll? One second. All right, there we go. This is the other poll, which is, and while you answer this question, I'm going to talk. So basically, like if you came here maybe to learn something or to learn more about a specific topic, perhaps, and if you haven't, that's okay. But if there's a certain thing that you feel like you want to hear more about, that's helpful for me to know. I was telling Kelsey that these presentations, anything marketing general always feels like a dead run to go through. So if at the end of this presentation, you want to take a nap or do whatever you need to do to recover, it's normal because we're going to cover a lot of ground, and a lot of which doesn't necessarily apply to your specific situation. So I'm going to talk, for example, about business directory listings and how to get people to show up at your business. Like if you have an online store, obviously that's like not something that, we can, that stuff is not going to be apply to you. So, okay. All right. So I'm just getting, okay. And I see we have 75% participation. Okay. Okay. Something else I'll put it in the chat. Very curious what that is. Okay. So email, social. Okay, great. Awesome. Very cool. So what I might do then is Kelsey's going to share my slides after, or actually she can even pop it in the chat if she wants the link to the slides. I'm going to be having the slides on the screen, but there's parts I might kind of gloss over, not because I don't care, but because we do have a limited time and I want to make sure we prioritize the information that people want who are in the room. So, yeah, so if you see like them, if you're looking at the slides later on and say, oh, we didn't cover that, it's just because I want to spend time covering what you guys want to cover. And like Kelsey said, I'm very comfortable with like questions and stuff. So do feel free to put them in the chat. I'll stop periodically and see if people have questions. So don't be shy. If you came here in particular to learn one thing, I'd like you to get at least that one thing out of this presentation. So, so this is, marketing with a $0 budget. And I did want to talk about, I know we talked about $0, but I also want to talk very briefly about ads because I see people like, okay, you're on Facebook, right? And that boost button, just so clickable, it's blue. And you're like, oh, I could spend $5 and have an extra 5,000 people see this. I want you to keep that $5 and go buy yourself a nice coffee. So if you're going to like buy ads, I want you to buy them effectively, and not necessarily just pay more people to see something, because that's not going to necessarily make you any money. I'm going to talk a little bit about branding, because sometimes what happens is they'll confuse you with another business. Has that ever happened to you? They're like, oh, you're that business that does this. And you're like, that's not my business. And so what I want you to do is, if you're going to do work, I want you to actually get recognized for it. So branding can help with that. Finding target audience, online listings. I do see people increasingly asking me about, like, how do I work with other people? Like, they're thinking about working with influencers. They're thinking of having an affiliate program, or if they've heard these words before and don't quite know what they mean or where to get more information about them. And then I did the trifecta of email marketing, social media, and blogging. So that's the things that you do in an ongoing basis. If you have more time than money, if you want to do it yourself, these are the kinds of tasks that you're going to do, I guess, more often than not. I did want to talk a little bit about search engine optimization, which is the idea that your website is more visible in search. So most people get most of their web traffic from search engines, myself included, even though I do a lot of social media. And so if you find ways to just get more traffic to your website, and you either sell something on your website or people can book an appointment on your website, then that's kind of a win for you. And then I just wanted to also talk about some general stuff that kind of crosses multiple, just more general stuff like running events, running contests, networking. And I added loyalty programs because I think people increasingly are looking for that kind of thing. So your mission today is understand that there might be points where I'm talking that it does not apply to you, and you can ignore me, and that's okay. And just, I understand that some of these things don't apply to you. And at the same time, I want you to try to look for the two things that you're either excited about implementing or excited about improving or wanting to know more about. And I'm going to ask you at the end what they are. You don't have to answer, but it kind of makes things more fun and interactive. And if you've been to my workshops before, I do like to usually have work periods, but with this particular workshop, I had to do more of a lecture style. So sorry about that. I'll try to keep it lively. So, paid ads to me should be part of a mix. It shouldn't be like something that carries your whole business. I've seen problems where people who make most of their money off of new traffic from ads, Facebook decides to change its algorithm, or suddenly Google doesn't serve these kind of ads anymore, and then they're stuck. So to me, ads should be part of marketing if you do have the money for them, but they should not be a substitution for actual time spent building relationships, which marketing does. Because to me, an ad, if you're scrolling on Instagram and you see an ad, it's an interruption, right? It's not necessarily part of what you were enjoying, I guess, unless it's well targeted. So I just want to say that ads are, kind of a one-way conversation. And to me, marketing is a bit more of a two-way one. So that's what we're talking about today. Now, just in general, I want to talk about, and this, by the way, this is a graphic I should make a lot more beautiful. I came up with, I just wanted to illustrate that when you spend money on ads, so the arrow is cost increasing. So the least amount of money you're ever going to pay is for awareness. So paying someone to see something. I want more people in this to see something. So ads, terms you might see are reach, which is I want this to reach more people, or brand awareness, which is I want people to start recognizing my brand. It's similar to reach, but what it'll do is it'll show the ad several times, maybe to the same person that is more likely to recognize your brand. So awareness is the cheapest thing. And the most you're going to pay for is, a conversion. So if you say, okay, a measure of success to me is that someone buys something off of my website, right? And so maybe your average order value is $80, let's just say. And so in your mind, you're saying, I am willing to pay up to $20 to get an order, because my average order is 80, right? You want to not say I want to pay $80 to get $80. That doesn't make any sense, but there might be a certain amount you're willing to pay for a conversion. And so with an ad, you're defining when you set up the ads, what you want to get out of it. And that's how the ad charges you. So obviously you're going to pay more for a conversion than you do for awareness. And there's these certain kinds of ads called lead generation ads, which will actually give you a lead. So you'll get someone's name and email address. And those are typically the most expensive because you're getting someone's actual contact information. But if you're selling cars or houses or something that's kind of big, even, I don't know, I'm trying to think, just if your product costs a few $100s, maybe you are willing to pay $25 for a email address of somebody who's interested in what you have to sell. So I just wanted to kind of put out there that there are these different ad types and the cost can really vary. But if you're looking for the cheapest kind of ads you can take out, there's something called a remarketing ad. So Facebook has, and Instagram, because they're owned by the same company, right? Google and YouTube, owned by the same company, right? Pinterest, TikTok, all have what are called remarketing pixels. What it is you make an account and you get a snippet of code from Facebook or from Google or from whatever, and you put it on your website. You can make this code track people going to your website, or you can make this code track, okay, these are the people who put it in the cart. These are the people who checked out. These are the people who filled out this form. You can make different tracking, what are called events within the remarketing tracking. And what you can do on these platforms is you can take out ads to people who've already been to your website. Now, these people obviously right, they know who you are, they've been to your website. So they're theoretically much more interested in buying. And because you have a previous connection with them, they tend to be less expensive to target than, say, a general person who is completely unknown to you. And then I mentioned a second ago, the lead generation ads. So if your customer is higher value and you are willing to pay for an email address, let's just say in the groups that I'm in online, people are bragging when they get like $5 leads. Like that is amazing. And we're all like, yes, go you. But sometimes when you first start off, especially when you haven't done them before, you might be paying, and you can put a ceiling, by the way, on any of these. You can say, I'm willing to pay up to X amount for a conversion. I'm willing to pay up to X amount for a lead. But what might happen is you might get none. You haven't paid anything, but you didn't get anything either. So the lead generation ads, like I said, really can be a really helpful tool, in particular if you're kind of in higher end services or if you sell products that, cost a few $100s or more. And then what you want to always do is if you're going to run an ad, you want to learn something. So when you hit boost on Facebook and you paid $5 for 5,000 people to see it, what did you learn from that? Not much, right? You didn't really learn anything. You just learned how to give Facebook $5. But what we want to do is say, okay, if I'm going to run an ad, I want to learn something. I want to test out whether people are more interested in my, massage therapy services, or if they're more interested in my, my facials. So I'm going to take out 2 ads to the same group of people at the same time period, one targeting for facials and one for massages. And I'm going to see which one gets more clicks. And so if you're going to run an ad, like I said, use it to learn something about your business. Obviously, get a lead, get a conversion, whatever, but use it to learn something too. And then it's not money that you've wasted. And if you are going to take out ads too, typically video formats are less expensive to target than other kinds of ads. In particular, Google in rural markets, not a lot of your business counterparts are making videos about their businesses and advertising them on Facebook. And if it's a bid-based system and you're targeting people within, a 10-mile radius of Paris, Maine or something, and nobody else is bidding on those YouTube ads, you can get them pretty cheap. And also so that, there's certain tools that these ads have, like Google ads, you can turn them on certain times of the day. So I had a colleague who was working with a steakhouse that had a happy hour. And so they were open 5 days a week. So he turned on their ads from like 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. the days that they were open, because that's when someone is kind of making the decision about dinner, maybe going somewhere for happy hour. And then if you're happy there, right, you're going to stick around. So just know that there's sometimes a little bit more nuance with these tools that it's worth getting to know instead of just clicking boost. Okay. This is the only part we're talking about with money, just the ad part. But obviously, like I said, we're going to spend money on marketing and building relationships. And if we're not going to spend as much on ads, we're going to have not only less expensive, but longer lasting results. This is just my opinion. Like I said, to me, ads are in the mix, but they're not necessarily a huge part of what I do. Now, I want to talk a little tiny bit about branding, just because, like I said, I don't want you to do all this work and someone says, oh, you have that goat farm like here. And you're like, no, that's not my goat farm. That's like the other goat farm. Like I'm trying to not be them. So, here is, and I know you sit through branding workshops and people are super slick and like these slides are not as slick, but I guess what I want to say is that branding to me should have like reasons behind it, right? Which is that, not only do you want to get credit for like that being your business, but also if you have everything kind of together, and let's say that you have somebody who wants to intern with you, you have a promising young person who like really is like super into video work and they want to make a video about your business. Well, if you have your branding all done, you can hand that to someone and they're going to a lot more likely to give something that you're actually going to like at the end. And, and also having some branding helps you make decisions going forward. You're not like revisiting and saying, like, nope, you've thought through it. You've thought through it already. And so this tool is not only for working with other people, but also can be for yourself if you're like me and enjoy shiny objects and get a little distracted. So I like these two definitions. I like one of these people more than the other in this list, but I like the combination of these two things about branding. Seth Godin's definition is about why someone chooses you over another product or service, right? And like kind of all that goes into, I like that the choice is in there. And in the second definition, I like that it's also about like reputation. Like what do people say about you when you're not in the room, right? So to me, it's choice and reputation. I like kind of these two definitions as a together idea of what branding is. And, I'm sure that you guys have sat through branding things. And to me, like, if you're like, okay, I get it. I should like pull together some branding guidelines, like this, there's a couple of different approaches that you can take. The most simple one, and I did this in a workshop once, is we wrote sentences, about our business. And so this is like a sentence you can sort of fill in. So if I fill out this, of like, my co-working space, right, helps tourists and local business people on MDI get their work done by providing affordable, professional, and accessible office and meeting space so they can be more productive. Now, what if someone approaches me and says, oh, hey, Nicole, does Anchor Space do happy hours for other businesses? I would look at my definition and say, okay, does this help people be more productive? Does it serve tourists and local businesses? I would say probably not really. And so I can easily say no to that because it doesn't really fit my line of thinking. If you want to go a little deeper than writing a sentence, which let's face it, you probably do. You're in a 2-hour marketing workshop in the middle of the day, go you. One approach is kind of coming up with, and this is something I'm borrowing from the web design industry. And this was really sexy back in 2015, because what happened was with responsive web design, the website looks different on your computer than it does on your phone, but people just couldn't get that. And so what we were trying to do is get people to understand the vision of the website without having to design, this is exactly what it's going to look like in this size screen. And this is exactly what it's going to look like in this size screen. And this is, because you'd have to design like 20 different websites essentially. So this is almost like a mood board maybe that an interior designer or somebody would use. It basically collects like the colors, the fonts, and that kind of thing. And as you see, it's more web designy. That's why it has things like buttons and what links look like and stuff like that. But, basically it summarizes the visual identity of your business. And there are times where people have handed me something like this, and it's a lot better than them not handing me anything in terms of being able to create something. So, and I'll show you, there's a couple of actual examples. There's branding guidelines here. This second link is the more traditional, like design only branding guidelines. And it'll just give you an idea of what they look like. Canva, by the way, has branding guideline templates if you want to just start with those. If you just want to start with that. And if you enjoy a very detailed branding guidelines, this is the most detailed one I've ever run across. If you run across a more detailed one than Sotheby's International Realty, it's 95 pages. It's everything from like, there's not a trash can allowed in any photo to exactly what you can use in the profile picture of your Facebook page. Like, it is detail oriented. And I feel like probably most people on this call will think it's overkill, but it kind of gives you different categories of things to think about. So, so the links are in the presentation. You can look at them later. But like I said, if you just are like, you can just start with a Canva template. If you use Canva, they do have branding guidelines in there. So even if you put together like a 2-pager of like, here are the colors, here's our logo. This is our tagline for the business and like what we use on everything. If we have a square photo, this is what we typically use. If we have a long rectangular photo, like a Facebook cover, this is what we typically use. I'm sure that you will. I have clients, by the way, who don't think they're going to care. And then they start working on this and they realize they care very, very deeply. And so it makes them kind of make some decisions. And then they're overall happier with the stuff that their staff is producing and they can make everything match and it just looks really good. So let's talk a little bit about target audiences. What I really love about the internet is like we can target people like pretty detailed. And again, I like to give you compelling reasons why to care about stuff before I talk about it. So, so targeting the wrong people in advertising means that you waste money, right? Which is annoying. But targeting the wrong people with the wrong messaging can actually turn off customers. So, I don't know if you've been on the receiving end of something like this, but I've had super badly targeted ads at me before. And I'm like, it just makes me think that the company either doesn't know what they're doing or like, it doesn't give you a good impression. And, generally appealing to everyone appeals to no one, as we know. And in terms of the internet, certain kinds of sites attract certain kinds of people. So, if you're going to put in effort, I just don't want your effort to be wasted. So it's nice to be where your target audience generally is, wherever that is. So I'm giving super general audiences here. You're obviously we're going to drill down from here. So if you don't ship products, right? So your people are coming, like I said, you're trying to think, somebody who provides local services, you're a bed and breakfast, right? Your target audience is probably nearby, or you probably have certain kinds of people that come to your bed and breakfast, right? Like they probably drive from, and it's funny because I've worked with several bed and breakfasts and some of them definitely have like little pockets of the US. Like they get a lot of people from Massachusetts or they get a lot, it's kind of interesting kind of how that can work. If you sell your products wholesale, right? Your target audience is more B2B. So, and then if you sell online, obviously you can retarget people who visit your website, you can target people who are nearby, or, target somebody very, very specific. Like what I love about our world right now is I could have an online business selling, vintage Pyrex. I follow someone on TikTok and her whole thing is she sells vintage Pyrex, her entire business. So we can do that now because we have the internet. So, thinking about very detailed stuff about your customers is a really good way to be able to reach them, because there are, online communities, there's YouTube channels, there's forums. I mean, there are places people who, like Mini Coopers, hang out online. If you, are a car detailer and you can join the Minis of Maine Facebook page, and you too can see hundreds of people posting pictures of themselves in their Mini Coopers at various Maine locations. So, thinking through these different things, what magazines they read, where do they go on vacation? Not just like gender, age, and income, although, that is helpful to know. Thinking about more detailed things too will allow you to find these people for free. So where your target audience, obviously they're on social media, and don't discount groups. Groups are a good place to hang out in particular if you have more time than money, because people are looking for information in groups, right? And they want to have a conversation. So you can be doing that. Business directory listings, making sure that, you have, if I'm looking up, if I'm like, okay, I want to eat better meat. Like I've seen terrible videos now. I want to like buy local grass-fed beef. So I will open up Google and type in grass-fed beef near me. Well, if your farm is listed as an option for me to do that, that's great. You've got a new customer. And then obviously online advertising, you can target very specific demographics. Now there's certain things that we're not technically allowed to target. So for example, I think on Google, I can target parents, but not on Facebook. Oh no, I can on Facebook now, but there's certain things you can't target, but you can go around it. So like, I remember somebody in the forum, one of the forums I'm in was talking about, they're trying to target vodka drinkers. And so like you can target people who like read certain brands or whatever, you know, and you can sort of like go around or doing stuff with CBD. Like sometimes you can't target directly, but there are ways kind of around it that if you know some detailed interests, you can reach them that way. Another thing too, you know, there's a term in internet marketing called the lead magnet. And the idea is that somebody who's interested in what you're doing might fill out a form to get like a free ebook or to attend a webinar, or, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of this with people who do services like, you know, business coaching or something like that. But I had a client who was a YMCA consultant, and would, you know, part of their thing was they like inspected YMCA's and came up with safety plans. And so, you know, so we helped them develop a lead magnet for like indoor pool safety for aquatic directors. So basically we said, you know, download here. And so we took out these very specific ads and the person filled out the form to get the download. And so we knew that either they were aquatic directors or they maybe employed aquatic directors that they wanted to read this paper. So if you want to develop something and people are interested in it, typically we understand online that a currency is an email address. You know, if I want to get something for free, I got to give my email. Like we all sort of know that at this point. So, so if you have time to develop something like that, this can be a really nice thing to offer for free, but then you're getting something out of it in the way of an email address from someone in your target market. There's another concept called geofencing, and it's this idea of taking out ads to people who are in a specific geographic region. People usually use it like when people are at conferences or something. They can be a little bit expensive, but there are ways to kind of do geofencing without doing geofencing, if you know what I mean. I've got some little tricks there, but point being is that you can target people who are physically nearby, not just with a very specific kind of ad. You can even like, so for example, like I was talking with a farmer's market and they wanted to retarget people who had been, so we could like do it if someone walked by a certain section, they would kind of get their phone number and they would be getting ads on their phone from the farmer's market. Anyway, so they can be a little expensive to set up and stuff, but they can also be pretty profitable if you're, say, a farmer's market with lots of people selling things. And then, you know, like I said, you know, your own website data can also tell you who these people are. We can take out ads to people who've been on our website, who are on our email list, that kind of thing. So, you know, basically, if you know who your target market is and like a lot of stuff about them, as you know, you can decide how you want to phrase your social media posts. So if I own a car rental company and my target market is people who are traveling for business, I'm going to talk to them differently over Facebook and Instagram than I would over somebody who I want to rent a car while they're on vacation. I'm going to say like, you know, hey, we have every kind of charger you need and built-in GPS. I'm going to say that like we have a business rate, you know, we have a frequent renters, you know, they're renters, rental car, or that's not quite the right word, but I think you understand what I'm saying, which is that like I would talk to them differently than I would talk to, say, a family of 6 who's like going to have this car for a week. What your website looks like, right? And so knowing who these people are, you might want to like rewrite some of your website content. If you're deciding new products to put in your online store, like that might kind of inform what those choices might be. So the more you know people, the easier all this stuff becomes. So I'm going to pause for a second and ask if there's any general questions that anyone wants to ask about this stuff. I get that this is kind of basic 101 kind of stuff, but it is kind of important to revisit. I know as I was putting these slides together, I thought about revisiting some things too. I want to throw out there that you can have a business listing. In particular, if you're not somebody who like you're a graphic designer and you work out of your house, like, and you don't want random people showing up, most of these will allow you to list a service area, not TripAdvisor, but like a lot of them will, versus a specific address. So for example, Google Business Listings, you can check off the boxes you're setting it up called I serve customers at their location. And then you can set what's called a service area. So, you know, you can add towns, or you can say within a 20-mile radius of Bar Harbor or whatever. So don't feel like you necessarily need to have a specific business address to take advantage of these kinds of listings. And all these, by the way, they're free. You will get calls of them trying to sell you ads. Like, just don't. Um, just let them go to voicemail. That's what I do. But in particular, like adding stuff, adding the most information to the listing possible will allow you to come up in search. So if I'm like, hey Siri, where's the nearest coffee shop? If I'm not in, I think Siri uses Bing. I'm not entirely sure. But what's annoying is that I just wish they would all use the same one, but they don't, right? So the Siri versus, I forget what, I don't want to say, hey, the GOO word because my phone's going to go off. But when you say something, it actually uses typically a database of information to find that information for you. So I know it's stupid. You're like going to make all these business listings. They all have almost the exact same information in them. But what I say is like, just you can do this at night, put on the Golden Girls and just pour yourself a glass of wine and just do all your business listings, fill them all out. And then I make a little appointment with myself quarterly to kind of check them, say like, okay, are the hours the same? Do we have any new products or services I should put in here? That kind of thing. And there might be directories specific to like what you do as a business. I think I was in a workshop when I told you one of my previous workshops, I was in a meeting. And when you're in a meeting with local people and you can't really leave because you know the people, like maybe this is how you feel right now. You're like, I can't really leave right now because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I guess I do that sometimes. So I was sitting in this meeting that I was like, I clearly probably walked into the wrong room and shouldn't have necessarily been there. But as I was sitting there, I added our co-working space to a bunch of online co-working space directories. And I still get customers from them, like not a lot, but like it was worth me spending an hour and a half doing that. So just check, for specific kinds of directories. I put Untapped because it's the beer one. So people who drink beer or visit breweries, they like to keep track of what beers they've tried or whatever. And it's an app, but there might be something specific to your particular line of work as well. So I see that there might some stuff in the chat. Kelsey, should we take some questions?
Yeah, I might also ask there's two different questions coming in that I think I need a little bit of clarification from as well. So Alvin was asking about
no, you're not.
And Alvin, feel free to
you do not
yourself.
You do not need an actual address to be listed. I think you have to put in an address for like mailing purposes because they're going to mail you a verification, but it's not going to show up anywhere. If you click the I serve customers at their location checkbox, it won't show anywhere. But Google does have to have an address to be able to mail you a confirmation. So you'll have an address in there, but it won't be listed, if that makes sense. And then let's see.
And also we did do a Google My Business session.
Oh, awesome.
That's on our YouTube. So maybe I can find that link. And that same question comes up almost every time, is if if you're not location specific. So
yes. And you did ask if I was a graphic designer, could you service all over Maine? Yeah, you just have to put in the individual towns. It's just a little bit of data entry on your end. So it's totally possible. Okay. And then, how do you have the noise being passed over, having an ad just be passed over if your product is information? Okay. So if you have information, here's the thing. Advertising, the first time someone sees an ad, they might not be ready to buy yet, right? Everybody's on a different,
So just for context,
yeah,
William works for a municipality sharing information for local businesses and larger communities in the larger community.
Okay.
So he's not selling anything, but he is trying to share as much information as possible.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that sometimes people aren't ready to hear that information. They might save it and look at it later, but you might have to show the ad a few times before they even bite on it. And so what you probably want to do, and I'm like you, I give out a lot of information and I want people to see the information and then contact me. So it's a little bit passive is the wrong word, but it's kind of a bit of a long game. It sounds like you're in a similar long game too. So I have a few other tactics, I think, William, for you that might work well. And I'm going to keep that in mind as we're going along. But I've got a couple of things that I think could work well. In particular, I think blogging could work really well for you. And I think video stuff could work really well for you because I have written out information on my blog and people do read that, But when I do a video about the same thing, everyone's like, oh, this is great. Like, I wish you would have talked about this before. And it's like, I did talk about it before, but you're a little impatient and want to watch a video. So that's fine. So yeah, so I think some of those might be good. And in particular, giving like a way that if they want to learn more, you can get their email address. It's low pressure. You're not asking for anything, you know, you're not saying fill out this very detailed form about your business with all this like information in it. Like, it's just like, oh, hey, if you want to keep in touch, give us your email. So that's kind of a nice way to keep in touch with people as well. So I do recommend making these profiles. Like I said, you will get phone calls. They are annoying. I get them too. So yeah, I get screamed at on the phone that my business listing is out of date all the time. So if you get one of those calls, it's not, they scream at everybody. So yeah, fill these out. In particular, I think Google My Business has something called attributes, which I think are something a lot of people don't bother filling out. So for example, like if you look up a restaurant and it says online ordering available on their Google listing, that's an attribute. And so what Google does is it like kind of, you know, you can put that you're handicap or wheelchair accessible. You can put that you're, you know, that you speak other languages. You can put that there's parking available at your business. Like you can, there's lots of these attributes on there. And I'll see if I can find, or maybe there's a blog that lists, it's called The Complete Guide to Google Attributes. It is not on Google's blog, hilariously enough. It is like on some other blog, but there's like 300 of them. So add the ones that are obviously pertinent to your particular business so that you'll come up when people are searching for those kind of things. Because let's face it, sometimes you just can't deal with parking, at least not me. So I want to talk a little briefly about working, I call it working with others, because I kind of put these things together. Influencers, affiliates, and partners, oh my. So influencers, you probably have heard of them. You might think of them as having millions of followers on Instagram and using a lot of filters, but there are influencers who, the idea of working with an influencer. So let's say that I'm an influencer, which I kind of am, full disclosure. Let's say you were like, I want Nicole to represent my product. So let's say that you sell this brand new coffee mug that never gets cold. I'm not quite sure how that works, but, and you say, Nicole, I know you drink a lot of coffee. We really want you to represent our, you know, hot coffee always mug. And I say, great. I'm going to offer to make you 5 videos on Instagram. I'm going to post 2 stories on Instagram. I'm going to do a Facebook Live video talking about it for 20 minutes and whatever. And I'm going to charge you $3,000 for that. And then you say, okay, that sounds good. I made up 3,000. Sometimes it's a lot less than that. They say, okay, we really want you to mention the brand, and we want you to say that it's available on our website for pre-order. Those are the 2 things we really want you to say. Now, you don't really have a lot of editorial control over this person. They're going to create videos and stuff that feels like them. You know, they're going to mention your product and they're going to mention the talking points that you want, but you can't be micromanaging them. You have to kind of trust them to promote the stuff because, you know, they align with your values or whatever. Like I said, they're typically going to charge you for producing content because content takes time to produce. And the other thing is they have their own audiences. So they've built an audience of people that trust them and they're talking about your product to those people. So like they're taking a certain risk to do that. Now, there are ways that you can search for these people. I left a link in the resources at the end, and it's later.com is a social media scheduling software I really like, and they have a really nice blog, but they wrote a complete guide to influencers. But the 2 main things I will take away from it for you, if you do not feel like reading a complete guide to influencers, is a pretty typical what's called engagement rate. So that's, you know, the number of people who like, comment, or share versus the amount of followers I have is typically between 1% and 3%. 3% is considered phenomenal for an influencer. But the other thing is that, and they mentioned this in the article, is that you don't need to have millions of followers to be an influencer. I am what's called I thought I was a micro influencer, but I'm a nano influencer because I have, in some of my platforms, I'm micro. You know, on TikTok, I have 6,000, but on Facebook, I have like 1,200, you know, and on Instagram, I have 650 or something, like or 700, something like that. So I don't have a lot of people, but those people are very interactive. So, it's not just, you don't need to necessarily go for like the Kim Kardashians of things. There might be people in your neck of the woods who would love to be creating content about your business, who you could pay to create content about your business, and would also show your product or service to their audience. And like I said, you're typically going to pay some kind of flat fee for specific kinds of content to be created. Now, the second kind of sort of people that you work with is something called affiliates, or you've probably heard of affiliate marketing, probably with some D-bag white guy like acting like you can make $1 million in 2 days. But the reality of affiliates is what you can do is you can work with people. So let's say you have somebody who really likes your product, and probably if you've ever gotten any kind of meal kit, this has happened to you. They're like, oh, here's a discount code that you can give a friend, right? So what an affiliate program does is it says, hey, if you want to become an affiliate of mine, I will give you a discount code, that you could give to your customers. And when someone makes a purchase with that code, because your code is specific to you, I will give you X percentage. So when I started my e-commerce site, that's what I did. I had I said, I will give 10%. Here's a 10% discount code for you. And if someone buys, I will give you 10%. So, that was 20% off the top for me. And it was, and while I wasn't necessarily making a lot of money off of those products, it built a lot of links very quickly to my website. So I had all these other people linking to me from their social media, from their blogs, from their email newsletters. I think I had 17 of them. They're all still there, but they're not necessarily generating a ton of sales, but those links don't go away. So the good thing about it is you're only paying when someone actually makes you a sale, but you have to give them a compelling enough discount that someone's willing to type it in, right? You can't be like, oh, here's $1 off. And then finally, kind of the third way to sort of work with people, and I call this partners. I don't know what else to call it, but basically maybe it's somebody with a separate business that has a complementary product. So, there's this, one of my friends is working with Box of Maine, and her product is when you order a box of Maine, it has all these Maine products in it. And so she's in that box now. So they have two separate businesses. They didn't create a joint entity. They're not in business together, but she's promoting the Box of Maine at her business, and the Box of Maine has a box of Maine stuff that they can send you, right? So, if you want to get into new markets, there just might be some fun other kinds of businesses that you could be working with that don't necessarily cost either of you anything. You're both getting something out of it. So, kind of thinking flexibly that way. So like I said, maybe you're bed and breakfast, and maybe you want to work with a local co-working space and say, hey, we have this partnership where you can stay here and you can work from here. Great. So just think of ways to work with other businesses too, because if you think about it, they have their own audiences, they have their own customers, that you can get in front of. So, yeah. But like I said, if you want, I feel like the influencer thing is a little bit kind of odd for people. And that's why I wanted to include a guide with a little bit more information in there. And setting up an affiliate program. If you run a WordPress site, there's WP Affiliates is a plugin that you can add to your site. It costs money. I forget. I think it's $50 or something, or maybe 80. I can't remember. It's something like that. And you can basically set up an affiliate program on your WordPress e-commerce site. But there might be an affiliate program with whatever kind of website software that you use. It's a pretty common thing. And there are separate standalone affiliate programs. The one I'm thinking of, there's two that I know of, ShareASale and Commission Junction. So a lot of bigger companies will just work with something that provides an affiliate program. And obviously you're paying them a percentage too, but they've got it all set up. So there's something to be said for that. So I talked about the trifecta at the beginning, right? The email, social media, and blogging. So basically this plan to communicate with customers on a regular basis with these different tools, right? So email marketing, it's funny. I was looking for new email marketing stats. I just threw the link in there. For every dollar spent on email marketing generates on average of $42. And I love that and this is from 2021, by the way, this is this year. 4 out of 5 marketers said they would rather give up social media than email marketing. So it's still pretty relevant. Everyone's got an email address pretty much, except I have a new landlord and she does not have an email address, and it's blowing my mind. I'm literally mailing her my lease. So I'm like, I don't get how you're in this world without an email address. There's still a couple people out there, but there's not a lot. And I know that when we send out our email newsletter monthly, I usually get 5 or 6 emails after it gets sent out of people being like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to contact you. Can you do this for me? So it works out okay. So email marketing in general, if you want me to, I don't want to disparage certain email marketing services, but go with one that is free for the first few thousand subscribers. I say I'm still in the free version. I'm 15 years into my business. I'm still using the free version because my email newsletter is like, I don't know, 800 people. I'm not going to, for example, I'm not going to I would not add your email addresses if I had them to my email list automatically, because I'm not like that. I let you subscribe on your own. But yeah, use one that has free, and you can probably use free for a while. I did want to talk about a couple of different kinds of things that are in your email and marketing software that you might not know exist. One is called an RSS campaign. So I was explaining this to one of my friends, like does a podcast, and he's like, oh, I wish I could get it to just email people. And I said, well, your podcast is on an RSS feed, right? And he's like, yeah, I mean, everything's on an RSS feed these days. So basically what happens is when you post something new to this RSS feed, it would automatically email your whole list. So MailChimp, for example, has RSS driven campaigns. You can set it how often this gets checked. So for example, I do my live stream on Tuesdays at 9:15 in the morning. And so what I do is on Wednesday morning, by the time I have time to go, if anything goes wrong or I have to change the notes or something, it checks Wednesday morning. And if there's something new there, which there is, because I broadcast every Tuesday, it goes out to my entire email list. So check those out if you want some kind of automated stuff going out. So you post something new to your blog, you add a new page to your website, you have a new podcast or new YouTube video, something like that. You can set it up what's called an RSS campaign, typically in your email marketing service provider, whether it's Constant Contact, MailChimp, there's tons of them, Aweber, Emma, there's a lot of them. So, and then another kind of email that's out there is called a drip campaign. And you probably have been on the personal end of a drip campaign where you sign up and then you get like a sort of confirmation email. And then like 3 or 4 days later, you get another email. It's basically a sequence of emails that are sent drip, drip, drip to everybody. And so, for example, when someone joins my co-working space email list, they get 3. They get a welcome, they get a why co-working email, and they get a meet our members, email. And that's it. I mean, I could send them more, but like, I feel like 3 is enough. I don't want to annoy them too much. And most people stay through the whole sequence. One gets sent day of, one gets sent a week later, one gets sent 2 weeks late after that. So as people join the list, I know that they've all gotten the same information. I know that everyone on my email list has gotten this series of 3 emails at the end of it. And if you have, I guess, a lot of stuff to say to them, it doesn't feel quite like you're sitting down and you're like verbal diarrhea, you're like at them all at once. You can sort of space out the information you give them so it feels a little bit more manageable. People are very interested in email delivery and how that happens. The very shortened explanation is that a lot can happen between your email server and their email server. Things can go wrong, things can get filtered. It gets in the promotions tab. I got this, I meant to put that I got an ad the other day and it was like, skip the promotions tab. And the person's like, and the comments of this ad were like, how much? And someone said, well, it cost, a few thousand, but I feel like we made it back up. But I was like, yeah, I really don't think you need to pay a few $1,000s to figure out how to skip the promotions tab. What you do want to keep an eye on when you send a marketing email is what's the open rate. So if you send an email and your open rates are typically 30%, and then you send an email and then it's like 10%, well, that tells you there might be a problem, right? So there might be something that it triggered the spam in your subject line or something like that. But there's lots of tools that can improve deliverability with your email. So if you feel like that's a problem, look into it. There's, like I said, there's a fair bit to it. And it could be a bit of a workshop on its own to talk about these different email things, but just want to put it out there that there are tools that will help with email delivery, and there's ways that you can make sure people are generally getting your emails, but it's not going to be 100% perfect. And you can also take out ads on platforms to people who are on your email list. You can actually upload an email list and take out Facebook ads just to people on your email list or something like that. So just so you know that exists, whether you want to use it or not, that's fine. And I'm seeing that we've got some chat, and I don't know if that's just fun jocularity or if people have questions.
We were talking about the different email marketing platforms and like what makes something free. And so I was clarifying that many of the email marketing platforms are free until you've reached a certain number of people on your list. It's not like it's free for the first month, then you start paying. It's like, it's free for the first 1,000 subscribers. And so I did drop a link to last week's email marketing webinar.
Perfect. Wonderful. See,
and that goes into like more detail of which ones are which. So
totally. Yeah, that's great. And that's the thing with a workshop like this, is we can kind of touch on things. So it's really great that the SBDC has programming that has a little bit more detail. So if we're talking and you're like, oh, there's a little nugget there, revisit that webinar for a little bit more context, but just kind of putting stuff like out there that people might be interested in related to this topic. So we, like I said, in terms of my marketing stuff, we do a monthly newsletter that we actually write out and send to people. And then every week, like I said, I have my live stream that automatically goes out as an RSS campaign. And RSS stands for Real Simple Syndication. Every website runs off a database these days, pretty much. In an RSS feed, your website, if your website runs off a database, it probably has an RSS feed that you can just tap into. So really cool technology, in my opinion. So, obviously social media is a great place for you to build a community, have conversations with people. I will say, and I think I said this in a different workshop, so if you've heard this before from me, I was pulling together some stats for one of my clients, and I realized that in terms of people clicking through to their website directly from social media, the numbers had gone down. And so I was kind of panicking that I was doing a terrible job. But what I noticed is overall traffic to their website was up. So I think sometimes people use social media to keep in touch with companies. And maybe when they're ready to buy or something, they're going to either go directly to your website or they're going to type it into Google and be like, oh yeah, I'm ready to finally talk to these people. They might not go directly from Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever, but they're going to follow you there and get to know you there, if that makes sense. So if you don't feel like it's driving a lot of traffic, just know that that's, that's what I see with a lot of my clients too. So it's not a you thing. It's social media is just built for a certain kind of thing. So the Pew Research Foundation, I forgot the name of them. The Pew does a survey, and a pretty detailed one every single year, about internet usage and social media usage and stuff. So there are certain websites that have certain demographics. And they've broken down. We have racial, and then I couldn't get the whole thing in the screenshot, but they have income, they have all kinds of things they break down. And this is just showing Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but there were other tabs, as you see there, for Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, YouTube, WhatsApp, Reddit, and TikTok, and Nextdoor. So if you're trying to figure out okay, if you know your target market, right, and you just want to figure out where they're at, there's a lot of this research that will tell you what websites they tend to be on. So don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel or figure it out. There is a lot of data out there about that. And I trust Pew's data because they're the Pew Foundation. I think they're pretty on it. So, I will say that, social media content, I guess the main thing I want to say about this is that you don't have to come up with everything yourself. Repurpose reviews you're getting, historic photos of your business. People love that stuff. Oh, look, here's me 5 years ago, launching my website, and look how excited I was. Resharing stuff from your community, other community groups and stuff like that. Just don't feel like you have to sit down and come up with all of this content on your own. I will say, if someone does send you a review, or I have one of my clients, they ship food, and people will often send pictures of their family sitting at the table, eating the food. And I always write back if they send them on social media, and I say, hey, do you mind if we use this? Do you mind if we share this in our marketing? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh yeah, go ahead. That's why I sent it to you. But I always ask first and make sure in writing they said yes, so that way, if I ever get blowback, I have that to fall back on. and then, batch stuff that might be time consuming. Like if you feel like, like if you want to make some videos about your products, maybe record 5 or 6 of them in one day, yeah, you can change your shirt or something, but this way you only have to do your hair once, you don't do your makeup once, that's how, I'm just saying, like, if it's something that takes a bit of time, just do a bunch in a row and you can use them at other times. You can schedule them, or you can just, use them later on. I feel like sometimes it feels less overwhelming to think of, batching content. Most people who do content for a living batch content. Like I sat the other day and I produced like 10 content pieces for like a client, like all in one go, and it was good. So, the main thing though, and I think we all know about, and the SBDC has lots of, I'm sure, webinars about maintaining social media. We did a series about social media analytics and stuff like that. So you can look at those if you want kind of more detail about how do I manage a Facebook page or whatever. You can use this data from Pew to like figure out what sites you want to maybe be on. And then you can, kind of dive into there. But the main thing that social media allows us to do is take content, whether it's these short little videos or whether it's, a photo, or whether it's some text or a combination. And it's what we call content marketing. So you're taking a piece of content and you're putting it on social media, you're putting it in your email, whatever. And a lot of times people will produce a specific piece that they want to market. Like I was talking about the ebook for the aquatic directors about the pool safety. They'll make something that like they want people to see and they'll promote that widely. And I just wanted to put that here, and I probably should have moved it now that I'm thinking about it to where I was actually talking a little bit more about it. But if you want to distribute that piece of content, and because sometimes people get a little bogged down in the technical details, which I totally get. One thing, you can do is put it on your blog, if you have a blog, you've already got a website, and it's way less work to do it that way. Right. And then the other thing you can do if you want someone to give an email address is you can use your email marketing list and say like, fill out this form. And then once they fill out your, email marketing, subscribe, they get automatically sent it. So, there's no right way to do it. It's just a matter of what your preference is. One is a little bit more work, but you get the email address. One is a little bit less work, but you get the traffic. So, and I just threw a couple, I won't get into this, about like taking good social media type photos generally. I won't get into that here, but I do want to talk a little bit about video in particular, because, I'm sure some of you have seen that Instagram, if you're on Instagram in any way, that they're prioritizing Reels, which is their little short form videos that are 15 seconds or less. And basically all social media platforms now have like a video tab, or you get notifications when like somebody you follow is going live, that kind of thing. So you'll notice that most social media sites are kind of veering toward video content. And as a business owner, at least this is how I felt about it. I was like, oh, I have to make videos. I get it. So the thing is that it seems like this video thing is here to stay. Now, as a completely lazy person, and as somebody who's very comfortable off the cuff, live streaming speaks to me. And the reason it does is that I don't have to edit it. Everyone knows it's a live stream. They know I'm live. There is not this expectation of like me doing anything post-production. I prepare everything ahead of time. I'm not saying that there's no prep that goes into it at all. That's not it. But, I prepare all my visuals ahead of time, whatever. And then I go live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And then when I'm done and I press stop, that video stays on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. I'm still trying to hook it into Instagram. Instagram's weird. And LinkedIn hasn't approved me yet for live streaming. Still. So if you also don't like editing, live streaming is great. But again, if you want to make a bunch of videos and schedule them to go online, you can totally do that too. But I did want to throw a couple of little kind of things about video. First of all, that video ads are inexpensive, which I mentioned earlier. I've done a couple of tests where I take out an ad, like the same writing, the same audience, the same time period, the same budget, and one is a video and one is a link to like my blog that has the video technically on it. And the video gets, it's so much cheaper. So just if that incentivizes you, that's cool. If you do any kind of longer form video, like this would be a very long form video, but I turn on the captions because I read somewhere that 90% of videos are watched without the sound. So also from an accessibility perspective, it's great. And all of these websites have automated captions. You just need to like check off the box. So just make sure those are turned on. I think that makes everybody's lives easier. And, you know, live video broadcasts, you probably noticed we're way up, especially like in the, I'm not saying we're not in the height of the pandemic, but last year when we felt like it was a little bit more urgent, there was a lot more live broadcasts happening. So I just love that. I saw this quote and it was this Facebook executive that predicted that Facebook would be 100% video by 2021. Obviously we're not there yet, but you know, I don't quite think it's like a 1984 situation where we're like super off, but like, I think we're headed in that direction. But most of these social media sites have these short form videos, these 15 seconds or less. And I did a 2-part series on my live stream talking about five templates that small businesses could use to do short form videos. Cause I was like you and I was like, I just don't even know, like, what can I even say in 15 seconds? So if you want to check those out, that's totally cool. There's nothing to buy there. They're just free and they're on my site. Yeah, so if you need help with 15-second videos, there's templates out there. There's things that are relatively low tech that you can do. People are not expecting you to be a TV studio. They want to see what it's really like behind the scenes. That's more of what they're looking for with the video. They don't care if your camera's a little shaky or like, you know, the lighting could have been a little bit better. So don't get too obsessive about having it be perfect like your a TV station, because nobody's expecting that from you. I'm going to skip that. Does anybody, I see that there's some chat stuff. Is there any questions about kind of general social media stuff other than me trying to convince you to do video?
We were discussing generational differences, who uses email versus who doesn't, who likes Reels, who doesn't. And spoiler alert, it's a mixed bag. So I think it lends itself to knowing who your ideal customer is, who is your audience, and how are they participating? Are they using email? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. That would be a good way to decide where you should focus your energy.
Yeah, it's true. You can ask your customers. Like, I mean, geez, every podcast on earth always asks me to take a survey about my listening habits like 3 times a year. I did get a private message asking about like, what is the price of a video ad? So I'm going to throw out some wildly generalized numbers. And I'm sure that a marketing person who comes across this video is going to be like, I can't believe she said that. And like, that's not right. And so I'm sure that I'm going to argue with some dude in the comments, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Okay. So typically for a click, it's usually around like $1 or $2 if you're paying per click. I don't do a lot of reach ads because like, why? I'm actually running an experiment right now. I'm doing it on the live stream tomorrow where I'm doing a brand awareness ad at a local level across several platforms. And I'm spending like $300 and kind of same amount of money. Well, not $300 each, but like a collective of $300 to see like which ads like are the best for this particular situation. In terms of a video ad, what I did with the experiment that I'm remembering off the top of my head is it was a blog post, like I said, and I had the video in the blog post, and then I had like just the video. And I think I spent spend $7 on the link and $7 on the video for ads, so a total of $14. And the video ad had like way more. I think it got like 10,000. I don't know. It got like a lot of impressions, and then the link got like, I don't know, 2,000 or something. And there were people who were commenting and stuff more on the video ad than they were on the link. So lead generation ads, like I said, people brag when they get like $5 or less. I paid like, you know, the last lead generation ad I ran for myself for my co-working space, I think I paid $9 a lead. So for an email address of somebody who wanted to potentially have office space in a certain geographic area. So yeah, I mean, you can spend a lot on ads, but you don't have to spend a lot on ads, especially like I said, if you know what you're willing to pay, if you know what your average customer cost is, if you know how people convert on your website and all that, you can do the math and see what you should be paying. But yeah, but just to kind of give you ballpark, $1 to $2 a click is pretty typical. By the way, all bets go out the window around Christmas for like the month leading up to Christmas. Everything gets infinitely more expensive because everyone's taking out ads and everything's bid based. So if you take out ads in November and say, oh, Nicole's wrong, like I'm telling you, ads are more expensive as they lead up to the holidays, which you'd expect, right? Like, but yeah, so you don't have to be taking out a lot of ad money. But what I'm noticing is with this the series of experiments I'm doing on ads is that I'm targeting a very specific local audience. I'm targeting people within 10 miles of a very rural area. And so for it to even show up for Google, I had to say that I was willing to spend $100 on the ad set. Now it's still not showing the ad. I said I tried $35, it wouldn't show the ad. So then I upped my budget to $100 and it's still not showing the ad. So I guess the worst case scenario is that your ad doesn't show if you're too specific. So just throwing that out there. So like I said, a click, whatever. And then for a conversion, I had some customers that I ran ads for around Christmas and we were paying about $20 for a conversion. And their average order value was, I think, around $80. So it worked out okay. And again, whenever you bid on stuff, you can put a cap. You can say, I want $100 to be my lifetime budget, but for a click, I'm not willing to pay more than $5. Or for a conversion, I'm not willing to pay more than $7. Now, what the ad platform might do is say, we don't know if we're going to show your ads then. So be it. That might not be the right ad platform for you. But yeah, I did run some really local Pinterest ads, which was interesting. But again, tomorrow, I'm still hoping that stupid Google ad's going to show. I keep giving it, I feel like it's a petulant child. I keep trying to give it more money and it's still like, no, I'm not showing. So, and I'm only paying when it shows the ad. So like Google doesn't have any of my money right now, but I'm like, come on. It seems like that platform, you need to pay a little bit more money. And I will say Instagram ads tend to be more expensive than Facebook ads when I'm running them. I've been running them separately on purpose for a little while. It seems like Instagram, and if you think about it, Facebook has clickable links. Instagram doesn't really. So like, I could see that the conversion would be harder on Instagram, but.
We had one question
Sure.
that I'm not sure I totally understand. So Joanne, feel free to unmute yourself, but she was asking, are video ads shown just on social media? So I think in this case, it's like the ads show where you create.
Yes, but like, okay, so Google, right? Google's giant. And they have a term you might hear sometimes as content delivery network or CDN. So if you think about the properties that Google has online, they have Google AdWords, in the search, and they have Facebook, but they have other websites. So sometimes it's funny, like I'll be playing like an online game or something, and there'll be like a really local ad or something. So I think a lot of people, so you might appear on my stupid solitaire game that I'm playing on my phone or whatever, if that's part of the Google's like overall display network. And you can exclude certain kinds of websites and stuff when you set up the ads. So if you wanted a little bit of control over that, you could have some, but in general, your ad might not just be on YouTube. It might be other places too. And with Facebook too, I think Facebook also has a content delivery network that's outside of Facebook.com and outside of Instagram.com. It's kind of like, any big company, we all know like you're like, oh, okay. Like Johnson & Johnson, like we know, but they have all these other brands too that we don't necessarily associate with a larger company. I think it's the same with some of these social media sites too. So a social media ad might show up other places that are related to it and not necessarily just in the Facebook or Instagram feed. I think that's true. I'm 85% sure that's true. So take that with what you will. All right, let's take the train to search engine optimization, or what's called SEO. Have you had a company randomly email you and tell you that there's something wrong with your website, but they won't tell you what? Are they vague about saying that it is not displaying on mobile correctly? Then you have somebody who is trying to get your business, and you probably don't necessarily. But I figure these cold emails must work if they keep sending them, because I get them too. There's problems on my website. They could be affecting how much money I make. So before you let some companies sell you SEO services, I want to tell you a little bit about SEO. By the way, I do have one of my very first live streams. I was talking about like SEO for non-DBAGs. So if you want to go watch that, that's fine. But essentially, if a company is being really weird and not telling you the work that they're doing for search engine optimization, if they're not like saying like, oh, we're going to try building these kind of links, or, oh, we're going to like, write some articles and put what, if they're not telling you what they're doing, like, don't let them do it. Because there's all this weird stuff that you can do for search engine stuff that actually hurts the business over time. So yeah, if you're going to engage a social media company and they're not telling you what they're doing, just don't employ them. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about what search engines care about. So first of all, search engines want your website to work. They don't want dead links going to nowhere. They want your site to load in like 3 seconds or less. They want it to be mobile friendly. They want you to have a secure certificate. That's that little padlock thing that if you see in the browser where you type the email address, there's like a little thing that looks like a padlock. That's a secure certificate. By the way, there's free secure certificates. Let'sencrypt.org works with a lot of web hosting providers to offer free secure certificates. So if you don't have one on your website, ask your host if they have Let's Encrypt and if you can put it on your website, because it's free and it renews itself automatically. Chef's kiss. So basically, your site should work well. And there's lots of kind of things that will check your website load time, things that will check your mobile friendliness of your website. I think Google has a tool for these things. So check and make sure your website is working okay. First step, right? Also, if you're going to pay for traffic to your website and it doesn't work, well, it's kind of like telling everyone you're going to throw a party and then they show up and you're sitting in your pajamas on your couch and you're like, oh, hey, I wasn't expecting you. That's kind of what it feels like when your website is terrible and you've taken out ads to it. So search engines basically like 3 things. Again, I'm so waiting for the comments on this video from people who say I'm oversimplifying it, because I am oversimplifying it because we're in a 2-hour workshop. First of all, search engines like words people are looking for. Now, if you want to put words that don't match up to the content of your website, that might work in the short term, but also it's going to confuse people. Oh, I was looking for this very high traffic search term and it has nothing to do with the content that's on this website. I'm going to immediately click away. So yeah, it actually has to be something that you're probably selling or, to have it on your site. But, words people are searching for. A good tool for this is if you are slightly overwhelmed with like, how do I even know what words people are searching? So Google Trends is like a kind of straightforward tool. And what we can do is we can compare up to 5 search terms. So if I search for sure, we'll just do 3. I'm not sure if I can think of 5 at the moment. What it'll do is it will show the frequency of those searches in Google over time. The default view is the US and the default view is 12 months, but you can go back further if you want, or you can change the country. And as we see here, if I was going to put words on my website, I should probably write the word co-working space, because more people are searching for it than they are searching for a shared office space or a rentable office space. Now, I might just get rid of these like 2 lower performing ones and try some other ones. But if you don't want to get super into keyword research, you could at least just throw it in here and it will show some places that people are searching it. Apparently, co-working space Philadelphia is being more searched. Shared office space near me. Okay, we can add that to the... Okay. It's a related term, but it's not getting a lot of traffic. Okay, so point being is like you could probably, you can go down as far down this rabbit hole as you want, but the idea is that like at least using words that people are typing in versus words because we have ways we refer to our work, and then we have ways that our customers are looking for us. And so we want to be sort of customer focused, right? I guess this is what this whole workshop is about. So search engines like words that people are looking for. And if those words are on your site and people are looking for them, it's more likely to bring up your site. The second thing they want is links coming into your website. So if there's two websites that are identical and one of them has 200 links coming into it and one of them has 2, Google's going to just assume by popularity that the 200 link website that has 200 links coming in, oh, it seems like this is more reputable. More things are linking to this, right? And frequently updated content. So Google will index your site periodically. And if they see that you're regularly updating it, they will come back and index your site more often. So basically, if we unite keywords, links, and frequently updated content, we get a blog. So if you think all these companies are real passionate about writing, I am here to tell you, well, I'm here to burst your little bubble and say that no, they want the search engine traffic. That's mostly what the blog is for. So a blog does all of these things. If you want, you can do other things besides the blog. But usually if you're a normal person and you want better SEO, having a blog on your site. Now, you don't have to blog every day. You will get a lot more traffic. My blog was daily for like 5 years, and I did get a lot more traffic when it was daily, but I do it once a week now. That's what I can handle. And it does get me traffic. And I have blog posts that I wrote, like this one that I wrote 7 years ago, and it's the dumbest thing. It was about like why you should rename files. I literally like jotted it off in like 20 minutes and didn't ever think about it again. That thing gets like hundreds of hits every single month, this stupid blog. And then I write other blogs that I think are amazing, and then no one sees them. So I will say it's a bit of a crapshoot, even for someone who's been blogging a really long time. So, with a blog, besides having the search engine benefits, you can have it automatically sent to your email list. I was telling you about with the RSS thing where you add it to the blog and it sends automatically. It gives you something to share on social media. Oh, hey, here's our new blog. You can set it up even so it automatically posts to social media from, when you press publish, it'll automatically push it to your Facebook, your Twitter, wherever you want it to go. And, your blog can come up in search, and, it can be a way for you to kind of promote your products too. So, one of my clients, we wrote them a Christmas gift guide, based on what was in their online store, and people really liked that a lot. So, it's a place for you to also just put content. Like if you have press releases, if you have new product announcements, it just gives you some place on the website. And when people see the word blog, they're like, oh, that's the thing that they update frequently. So it gives you a spot to kind of put that sort of stuff. Am I saying you need a blog? No. Am I saying if you want search engine benefits and some of this other stuff? Yeah, it might be nice to just turn it on. Most website software will let you blog. It's usually built in. Sometimes it's just a matter of making a page called blog and telling the blog post to say, oh, every time I write a blog, put it on this page. Sometimes for me, turning on a blog on a WordPress site, it's like 3 clicks and ta-da, your blog is turned on. So it doesn't have to be the super labor intensive thing. And people do really like writing blogs and stuff. Oh, do we have some questions?
Some people really do. How often, what's your definition of frequency? Like how often should we be updating our websites or writing a blog? Like by adding something new from...
I would take once a month for most of my clients. Honestly, if I could get them to update it once a month, that would be great. Like I said, I do it weekly. I find it's a good balance. Like I said, daily, I was getting a lot of traffic, but I wasn't necessarily like monetizing that traffic super well. So it wasn't necessarily worthwhile for me to spend a lot of time doing that. But like I said, 1 blog post a week seems doable for my personal thing. And the other thing too, it doesn't have to be like a New York Times investigatory journalism story. It doesn't have to be long. And, I had one client and, her and her marketing person came in, and the marketing person was spending like 30 hours a month on the blog. And we just tweaked it a little bit. We took some of her ideas and kind of cut them up a little bit and then tried to give her some easy formats to use. So like, all right, so we're going to do like, top 10, I forget what it was. I think it was a skincare type company. Top 10 ways to, interesting. My computer's going to die in a second and I don't know why, because it's plugged in. So That's interesting. Don't mind me while I figure out where this is plugged in. So yeah, I would say, like I said, if you do it once a month, that's way better than some of my clients are doing. So there we go. For some reason, I didn't push it in all the way. Once a week would be chef's kiss, but once a month I would totally take. And then you could like look through your site and be like, oh, this person doesn't work here anymore. Or, oh, that event went by. We should probably delete it. You know, you could just kind of use that time to sort of look around your site and just make sure everything's up to date. And it doesn't have to be you doing it. It can be somebody else. You know, you have other things to do. You own the business. You got things to do. So
and then I apologize to William because I missed his comment earlier, and I don't have any idea what he's referencing. So he might need to clarify. But he was asking, can you do this for employees, workers, labor, workforce, as an example? I think he was talking about. I think it was from the SEO section.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I worked with an economic development group in Massachusetts, and they were trying to get businesses to relocate to their municipality. And so I was, and nowhere, by the way, it was like a government website, like we all know how those go, and that you have a limited amount of control over it. But what I suggested they do is have a landing page for like new business to the area, start here, or, you know, considering relocating, like, and obviously, you know, and just making a landing page with content that maybe was already on the site, but maybe lived other places, like with the Chamber of Commerce or with the local downtown association, or whatever, and putting together something that like, okay, I've already moved here. So like, obviously you don't need to spend time like convincing me, but you might want to connect me with the local business groups. You might want me to know that like, you know, there's these grants available and that they're, you know, on a rolling basis, you know, or so like I would make like landing pages specific to the different kinds of people you're doing. And then I would put those out there because that's really easy, right? So if I'm sitting here and my friend is like, oh, I'm thinking about, you know, opening a branch in the town that you're in, and I know that this link exists, I can be like, oh, hey, you should go check these people out because it's all together. And I know that it probably feels easy to find for you because you're always looking at your site, but somehow compiling everything together onto one page that's for that specific audience, I think can be really nice. It's very welcoming that way. So suggest doing that. And, you know, have someone outside look at it, like when you're done, and just be like, hey, like, you know, is stuff easy to find? Or, and they might be like, oh, it would be really nice if there was some information about how to apply for licenses. Oh, good point. You know, so getting some of that feedback might be really good too and help make it better. You know, so this next part is just more kind of general stuff. I'm going to gloss over a lot of the slides, but they are sitting there with some general information in them. And yeah. So, you know, events in particular, I think during the pandemic, when a lot of us were like stuck at home and looking in particular to online type events, there's lots of events that you can kind of have as a business. I feel like people who do them constantly, like we know who those people are, right? Who are always having a sale and they're like, yeah, we don't need to do them constantly, but it is nice to give people a reason to kind of get together, whether it is going to be a hybrid event or whether it's going to be a virtual event or an in-person only event. Like, I think we're all going to be safe about that. But sometimes people just want an excuse to kind of try you out. And I know with us, some of our best, before the pandemic anyway, some of the best ways that we got new members was they would come to a workshop in our co-working space. So it got them over the barrier of finding out where we were. They would sign up and then they would come in and they would tell me, it was funny. They'd be like, oh, I've been wanting an excuse to come in here. And I'm like, you can come here whenever you want, but like somehow the event like gave them the permission to do that. So I just want to put out there that you might have some friends who you think you've made very clear that like they can come, but having an event gives them an excuse to actually show up at a specific day and time and be able to look around, maybe without obligation to necessarily fully. So, you know, I think we've seen some really clever stuff people do with events online and in real life. So I'm mostly going to probably, you know, I think it is nice to collect people's email addresses at, you know, so if you get them to the event, stick out an email sign up sheet like at the event, because you physically have gotten these people over there. If they haven't, obviously if they've registered ahead of time, you have their email address, but if you haven't, and it's more of like a come on over kind of thing, make sure you get that information. And when you are promoting it a lot, it'll feel like you're doing it too much, but that's just the right amount. I can't tell you how many times I've done a workshop and I post it to every community calendar. I've done a press release. I did a Facebook event. I did an email invite. And then I'll have someone be like, I didn't know that was happening. And I'm like, I'm sorry that I didn't send a dove to your house with a scroll around its leg, specifically inviting you. But so it feels like and different, because different people get their information differently. It feels like a lot to you because you're the one putting it out there. So if you feel like it's too much, you're doing it right. What I've done too, as like a little kind of quick thing, is I've made, as a person on Facebook, you can make friend lists. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but it's really handy when you're inviting people. Let's see here. Whenever I go on my own Facebook, I'm like, come on, everyone, behave. I think I have it actually, I disabled my news feed. There's a Chrome extension. See, look, it doesn't show my news feed. That's on purpose. Yeah. So I have one of where's my lists? Come on. So I have these friends lists and I can add people to the list. And so when I want to invite, where's my friends lists? Come on. Facebook, where are you? Okay, I'll think of it. I'll think of where this is in a second, but you can basically, where's my friends list? There are groups. That's new. That's Facebook groups. Okay, I'm completely blanking. Just look up Facebook friends lists and you'll see where to click to be able to see stuff. But you can make a list of people. And so I have one called MDI business owners, and I have one called workshop enthusiasts or something. Like they're just people who like come to all my workshops, which is kind of fun. So yeah, you can totally make these lists. And then when you make a Facebook event, you can just invite the whole list. It just saves me a lot of time if you're going to do events on a regular basis. And then sometimes people like need some incentive to like show up. I don't know if you guys find this, like you have every intention of going to the thing. And then you're like, oh, my pajamas are so comfortable. I think sometimes like previewing it, like doing a little live video and showing like what's going on, like as it's starting up, you don't have time to do it the whole time, obviously, but sometimes that can get people to like, oh, that looks fun, I should go. It gives them a little preview of what's going on. Yeah, just skipping these things. All right, so, another kind of tactic that you can do is contests. So, contests are good because like they sort of get people who are on the fence to kind of engage with you, like if they could win something. So like we were trying to, when we moved into our space here in Bar Harbor, we moved spaces during the pandemic. So we're at a different location and we wanted people to like get on our email list and understand we're at a new location. So we gave away a free membership for a month. And we got a bunch of like signups to our email list doing that. And what's funny is the people who won it like never redeemed it. And I checked in with them a few times, but yeah, anyway, so we got some email signups out of it. But I will say, running contests in particular, Facebook has very strict contest guidelines. Like it's like 20 pages. So what I suggest if you're doing a contest on Facebook is to use a contest app. And these apps are typically compliant with Facebook's terms and conditions. The one I'm thinking of that I've used before is called Short Stack, and it looks like a little tiny stack of pancakes. So that's how you know you're on the right one, I guess. I think there's a couple of things called Short Stack, but yeah, Short Stack Facebook contest or something. So they're keeping up with all the Facebook regulations. They're typically an app that you install on your page and you can use it to run your contest. Because otherwise what happens is you're like, oh, whichever photo gets the most likes, right, wins. And then what someone will do is they'll take that photo, share it onto their Facebook profile and be like, let's get in. And then people will start liking it on their Facebook profile. But because they've taken it essentially and copied it, it's not counting those likes. So my local vet's office, ran this a few years ago and it was a mess. People were not happy. So just, and I feel like other ones are a little bit more straightforward. Like, so this is an Instagram example one that I found a while ago. So she win this shirt, like this is exactly how you enter, just very straightforward. And I think this is within contest guidelines because it was Instagram only. So yeah, it's worth sometimes running a contest to kind of incentivize people that are on the fence to finally take an action. And then you get some new contacts and people do share it. So yeah, just throwing it out there. I will throw out there, if you're going to ask people to make a video, please make it a worthwhile thing. It's so funny. I've seen people who are like, we want you to submit a 5-minute video and you might win $100. And it's like the effort for the payoff, we have to think about if we want something that's produced, just like make sure, like if you don't have anyone entering, it's because you're like, okay, we're giving away $25 gift certificates. We want you to tag 6 friends. We want you to like email these. And it's like, no one thinks it's worth it. The China Dyna, back when they existed, they had this prolific email list. And part of the reason they did was that they gave away a $25 gift certificate every week. And they had a list of over 10,000 people. And I don't know if you were on that list, it was not like the most beautifully formatted email you've ever seen, but like, it wasn't any effort for someone to like put in, I think you turned in your receipt like after you ate there and put it in, and that's how you got entered to, but they would do one drawing a week for $25 and they built an email list of 10,000 people basically doing that. So, doesn't have to be too fancy. And then I will say, and I know this feels really gross, that like networking is really important and it's free and it does take your time, but it is technically free. And most people do not regularly engage with their network. And I've gotten 2 of the 3 biggest contracts I've ever had were from people who like sort of know me. The biggest contract I ever got, this guy was a professor at the university I went to. I didn't have him as a professor. He was a professor at the university. We connected on LinkedIn for some reason because we had some people in common. And then he's like, oh, hey, do you still do this? And I said, yeah. He's like, let me introduce you. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. So like, just from knowing people, and even like I said, the secondary, not even just direct contacts, but people who know people that you know are like really helpful. So I do this a lot on LinkedIn. I try to find 5 to 10 new people a week to connect with. And then I just send them, and I just say, hey, like, it's really great to connect with you. Like, this is the kind of stuff I do. But mainly I said, I'm doing these live streams and I'm always looking for new ideas. So if you ever have like a marketing topic or something that would be helpful to have a video on, that'd be awesome. Looking forward to following you on here. I'm not like right away, like pouncing on them. I'm just like saying, hey, saw you, if you ever have an idea for my live stream, let me know, like just super low key. And the way I figure, and then I post 1 update a week on LinkedIn, my live stream, right? And the way I figure it, most people don't post on LinkedIn, but we're all stuck with that LinkedIn digest unless you've opted out. And most people don't. They just get that weird email on, I think it used to come on Wednesday. I don't know if it still does. But if you've posted on LinkedIn and no one else has, suddenly you're in everyone's inbox rent free. So like it's really worthwhile. And I've also, because a lot of things are online now, I've been going to these online networking type groups. They do them over Zoom. And it's been really nice to connect with people that way. I've gotten some new clients that way. So just like, like I said, while we're still pandemic-y, you might as well take part in these online things if you can. So so I literally have a CRM, and every day it sends me an email and it's like, you should contact these 3 people today. Now I blurred out the bottom 2 people because it had their phone numbers in it. And this guy's my brother-in-law, so I think he's fine with me sharing his, but it's like, here's 3 people that you should probably engage with. And it goes with my email. So if I haven't emailed them in a while, it tells me. So it says, oh, hey, you're overdue to connect with Justin. Like your last email was from you 2 months ago, but you usually talk every 36 days. So as someone who's like sort of a little neurodivergent and I love people, I just sometimes like get a little bogged down in email or forget to like keep in touch. This is lovely. But there might be some other ways you can do that too, whether you go on LinkedIn and connect with new people, or whether you just try to come up with excuses to reach out to people in your contacts a little bit more often. But people, if they know what you're doing and know what you're trying to do, they like to help. So if something comes across that they can make the referral for, or they can like send people your link where they can buy on your website, that's great. So just kind of want to remind that, we can still people, Even if we're in a pandemic, we can still people. And then I want to throw out this idea of loyalty programs. So obviously loyalty programs reward people who buy from you regularly. And I thought it was really interesting that 65% of your business comes from your regular customers. So I know marketing is about, it's a large part about reaching new people, but it's also reaching out to people you already have a relationship with through all these different tools we talked about today so far. And a lot of people are looking, and these are stats from 2021 too. I like wanted to update when I reference stats, I like to reference, stats that are up to date. But, 54% of customers say they would consider doing more business with the company for a loyalty rewards. And your point of sale system might have an existing loyalty program built in, but there's also standalone ones as well. But if you want to incentivize people, it can either be that they earn points. It could be that people who get stuff auto shipped get a little bit of a discount from you. However you want to handle that. I'm not telling you how to handle that, but it seems like people do appreciate a loyalty program as a customer and as a business. If it doesn't cost us a lot to implement, and is in particular for getting data about who's buying our stuff more often, I think it could be a worthwhile thing to implement. And I guess we can answer some questions, but I do want to kind of know from people if they feel comfortable sharing, if there was a couple little things that you feel like you want to act on after this workshop, or some clarification you might need to decide that. I would love to help with that. So looks like there's some stuff in chat. I can't see it, but.
William was asking, what CRM do you use? Is it free or a monthly cost?
Oh, well, see, okay, that close thing, it's close with a Z because they're running out of .coms and they're just trying to get clever with the names of the apps. That's my theory anyway. My theory is that these apps are named weird things because they want the .com and they're just running out of. So the close one is, I think it's $60 a year. And all it does is just tell me to email people. It's not really a CRM. I've used HubSpot, the free version of HubSpot, as a CRM before. I've had clients who use Salesforce, and it's I don't know. I find it a lot. I find in my company the two things I need, because whenever I see a CRM, a customer relationship management software, I'm always obviously it's typically overbuilt, right? A lot of them are built for specific kinds of businesses, but a lot of the more general ones just have a lot of stuff you don't use. But the two things I need are communication with my staff, project management, and I need to be reminded that people exist so I can email them, because I'm the main salesperson in my company. So how I handle that is we have Slack for communication internally. And that keeps the email mainly to clients so that I see it. And then I use the close thing to remind me that people exist so that I email them or call them or something. And then I use Asana for my project management. So that's actual tasks, and all that integrates. We're a Gmail company. So all that has Gmail apps. So I can actually make a task right from my email and assign it to someone in the company, and it will automatically attach everything that's in the email to the task and stuff like that. So it's a matter of, I think, figuring out what you need. And sometimes it is worthwhile to have a paid CRM. I know a lot of my nonprofit clients, for example, have some kind of donor CRM. They want to keep track of which donors come to events. They want to keep track of gifts. They want to keep track of kind of emails that these people are opening. So in some cases, it might be worth, and I'm not saying you don't have to pay for something, but it seems like there's free ones out there. But the free one I've liked the most so far is HubSpot. They will try to sell you software. I find that their website software is a little expensive and whatever, but I guess if they're giving away CRMs, then they probably got to pay for it somehow. So I would say just don't let them upsell you, but use the free version. I thought the China Diner was closed. Someone told me it was closed.
I was going to say you broke her heart.
I'm so sorry. Someone told me they closed. I mean, I have not driven down the road to see if it was actually closed. Cause it's off of, there's that, it's not right on the road. It's down, it's off a main drag there, but didn't mean to break anyone's heart.
Bethany says lots of great information and validation that I've been doing a lot of things correctly, which is always great news.
Yeah.
She says definitely need to work a little more on SEO though. So it's good
Sure.
to know, you know, getting a reference point of where you're at.
Yeah. And just as a little like sort of what's normal for web traffic kind of thing, because I've looked at hundreds of people's Google Analytics, is that it seems like between search engine traffic for most small businesses seems to be between 50 and 90%. It tends to be more toward 50% if you're like a business with a physical location. It tends to be more toward 90% when it's like online only. So if you're looking at your Google Analytics and you see your search engine traffic's like 10% or something, you know, you might be like, oh, okay, because, you know, now you've got a bit of a frame of reference there. And like I said, there are like tools that you can use that will like give a free checkup to your website kind of thing. It'll tell you things like if your site is loading slow or if like there's, you know, bad links, you know, because like sometimes you change your about page instead of about, you change to about us and you forget that you've linked your about page like 5 other places on your website. And so now that link is broken because you changed it. So there are little like things that you know, all these different online tools. I have a little collection of 10 of them that I like. I'll see if I can find where I stuck that. I can't remember if I made it as a course or if I made it as a paper or whatever, but I'll see if I can find that after this and send it to Kelsey so that when she emails you guys the recording, you have it. But I have a list of stuff that will help you easily test some things because some things are a problem and some things aren't. So.
PortlandCheatSheets.com. We'll have to check that out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly everyone's just saying thank you. And
okay.
I agree. Thank you and good job.
No, and if there's any other, I mean, I kind of glossed over a lot of stuff because I wanted to sort of get through it. But like if we have a little bit of time, if anyone like has something that you wish I go a little bit more into.
Yeah, and feel free to unmute yourself and take over. And like she said, this was a really great overview of things to keep in mind and options for different budgets. And I popped a couple of links in the chat along the way of like deep dives into like specific topics that we discussed today. So if you have not checked out the Maine SBDC's YouTube channel, I highly recommend it. All of our past events, we try really hard to get all of our events recorded and uploaded up on there, double ups. So yeah, so there's always more options to poke around in there.
And I'm just going to throw in my YouTube channel link in the chat. I finally made playlists. So I've got 3 main playlists there, but you can see the short video thing that I referenced is in the social media playlist and stuff like that. So just if any of you are interested, I've been stuck at 76 subscribers for a while, so feel free, but you can also just watch it. And the other thing that's in there is during the pandemic, I was in a bit of a mood. I was living with my mother and a little off the wall. So I did make a 2020 Make Some Money. It's a 20-day course and I pretend that you don't know anything about setting up anything on the internet. And we set up like basically a little online business. I set up a little fake online business with it too. So if you like are starting what you feel like is from scratch, it's free. I don't even ask you for your email address. It's just sitting there. So yeah. But I know that there is a lot of information and that's why I really want to do at the beginning to like pick something. Oh, 4 error when I click the link. I don't know if that's my link or your link. Huh. I don't know whose link that is. There seems to be a link with a 404 error. Oh, the YouTube link is giving you an error. Weird. Okay. All right. Well,
coming up as nothing to me. It's like just
got
the
it.
YouTube
Okay.
logo.
Yeah. Hold on. Apparently I cannot. I put it in my search bar and it like that link came up right away and I was like, oh, that must be my channel link. Should probably check it first, but I'll throw it in the actual chat. But basically like I know a lot of this stuff might not feel like it applies to you. I wanted to also throw out the actual words for things in case you ran into like a video tutorial or something and you were like, you know, sometimes it's useful to have the word, but you certainly don't need to use the words. I certainly don't. 77. Thanks, somebody. I'm guessing it's somebody on this chat. I'm trying to find the channel link right now because apparently I can't click, but yeah, it's a lot of information. I know. I always, like I was telling Kelsey before we started. Okay, what? There's apparently a video that's auto playing, so don't click on that right now, but that's my YouTube channel. I don't know why it's auto playing. I hate it when videos autoplay. So I'm going to go fix that after this because that's annoying. But yeah, so don't feel like you have to do everything. Just do something. And that's all I got.
Well, like everyone is saying in the chat, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I love doing stuff like this. It's really fun. So if you ever, yeah, and if you guys have any ideas for any of my little videos that I do on my channel or stuff for the SBDC that you want more programming on, tell them. Yeah, and thanks so much.
Perfect. Well, like I said earlier, you'll receive a follow-up email from me probably tomorrow that'll include all those links and recordings and a handy dandy link to fill out our survey where you could tell us what kind of topics you would like to hear about.
Ooh.
So we would love to hear from you. We love to be able to make it as applicable as possible. And it sounds like this was a really good overview for a lot of people. So thank you as always.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.